Tonight, Americans across the country are casting their votes, deciding the next chapter in American history. We'll be breaking down key issues following the heated congressional and presidential elections and checking in on local watch parties here on Florida Decides.
We are going to make America great again.
As one people, we are moving forward.
Good evening and welcome to our election night special, Florida Decides. I'm Alessandro De Palma and we're here to break down everything you need to know about this election. We have teams at local watch parties and they'll provide us with reactions from both Republicans and Democratic voters. From coast to coast, America will be deciding the direction and the political future of the nation. Polling sites have closed in Miami-Dade County, and we have projections to announce. Let's take a look at some of the amendments Floridians are voting on this year. We begin with the First Amendment, which failed to pass. It would have made the school board partisan, meaning school board members would have had to declare their political party starting in 2026. But with 54.9% of the vote, it failed to reach the mandatory threshold of 60%. At the moment, school board members run as nonpartisan candidates, and this amendment would have changed that. Now we take a look at Amendment 2, which will make it a state constitutional right to fish and hunt. The amendment passed with 67.3% of the vote. And now we turn to Amendment 3, which did not pass. It would have legalized recreational marijuana for Floridians and out-of-state visitors 21 and older.
But it only received 55% of the vote.
Finally, on Amendment 4, it would have prohibited the government from restricting abortions before viability or when necessary to protect a patient's health, but it lost by 3%. We'll provide you with more of the latest projections as they come in. While here in the studio we wait in anticipation of the results, the youth in Miami may have a huge role in deciding the next president of the United States. We went out to the streets of Miami where young voters had this to say.
Main factor that drive me to vote today, since everybody votes counts, the main factor is, just to have a better economy, cheaper gas prices, and a better life of living.
The main factor that's driving me to vote today is that I think every vote makes a difference.
Immigration and reproductive health.
I'd have to say it's the policies that each candidate is gonna start using and what they have to offer.
The prices in Miami, like which president is gonna lower prices, mostly gas prices, groceries, and like how we live, because it's been expensive lately and us adults, we can't really afford anything. So
the youth vote is going to be a key factor in deciding our next president, and history will be made tonight. On one side, Vice President Kamala Harris would become the first female president in U.S. history. And on the other, former President Trump would become the first president to be re-elected after being voted out of office since President Grover Cleveland back in 1893. Meanwhile, here in the studio, we have two students from Miami-Dade County that have made clear their positions in this election. Welcome. So, Sasha, who are you going to vote for and why?
Well, I cannot vote because I'm 15, but I will, if I could, be voting for Kamala Harris and the Democratic slate. Now, this is because I believe, as a young voter, that our rights are being infringed by Donald Trump and his Republican far-right agenda. First of all, there's abortion rights, which I believe is a fundamental violation of a woman's rights, and I believe that this is going to be the start of potential knock-on effects of other rights of not just women but minorities that could happen, because it's removing a precedent that was in place, and that's a really big deal. And if the United States continues on that trend, it's going to be really bad. I think that his foreign affairs policy has been very weak. Personally, I am directly affected by his foreign affairs policy as my nationality, and I think that if he does what he did in his first term, which was go and meet with crazy dictators and then achieve nothing, like when he met with Kim Jong-un and he met with Putin. What came out of that? Do we need a leader that's actually going to do stuff with these prime opportunities, or is he just going to throw it away like he did last time? He's also said some very racist comments. At a campaign rally, there was a comedian who he allowed on stage and encouraged to say these very racist comments. Back in 2020 with coronavirus, he called COVID, for example, the Kung flu. I mean, how are we having a president that would say stuff like that? It's just completely mind-boggling. And I believe us youth voters have to take that into account and see what do we want for our future.
And Lindsay, you told me earlier in the studio that you would vote for President Trump. Is there any specific reason why?
Well, I already actually voted for him, but I want him as our president because of my beliefs. His policies and stuff go with my beliefs as a Christian. Like, he mentioned abortion. Trump is against it, and as a Christian, it is wrong under my eyes and also wrong under God's eyes. So, yeah.
So then, Sasha, you've made your position pretty clear. Is there any world that you would vote for Donald Trump then?
No, because even if he was a Democrat, I also look at the person behind the ballot. And what has he done in his life? He was handed down billions of dollars and a huge company and sold his properties for pennies as he needed to pay off his debts and sent the company into Chapter 11 4 times, I'm pretty sure. And if we are going to let someone who has crushed companies so many times and is clearly irresponsible lead our country, then what is he going to do to our country? Is he going to bankrupt our country? Is he going to make foolish decisions like he did in the 1980s and 1970s? How can we expect to trust him if that's his history?
And Lindsay, same question to you. Is there any way that you would vote for Kamala Harris?
I don't see myself ever voting for her, again, with my beliefs. There was a rally recently, I think we all know about this, where someone mentioned Jesus is king. Someone in the crowd yelled it out. And she basically fooled them. She humiliated them in front of everyone, saying they're at the wrong rally. Like, I'm not the person to vote for. If that's what you believe in, I'm not the one for you. And she basically mocked God, and that's against everything I go for. So,
well, thank you both for joining us. As we mentioned before, we have two correspondents who are at their local watch parties. First, let's head to Raul Archaga, who is at Congressman Jimenez's watch party, where Republicans are gathering to see tonight's results. Raul, what's the mood for the Republicans?
The mood right now is honestly so energetic. There is such a sense of confidence in the air right now. I spoke to some attendees earlier who had this to say.
I know Kamala started like Fidel started in Cuba. My hope would be Trump. That is the only one so far that can fix what Kamala and Biden broke already.
Well, my hopes are that we have a fair election. He got cheated last time around. And I really hope that Trump comes out winning.
USA! USA! USA!
My hopes for tonight's election is obviously for Trump to win, the House of Representatives to win, and the Senate. I would like us to sweep the board if possible.
While the night is still early, the Republicans are hoping for a red wave as the early polls have it going their way. Back to you, Alessandro.
Thank you, Raul. While we get more reactions from the crowd as the night goes on, let's now head to Gabriella Martinez, who is at a Democratic watch party. Gabriella, can you describe the mood?
Here, the mood is very familiar. Although the results are not as they wanted, they are still positive. We got to talk to some of them, and here's what they had to say.
I think it's important to have someone that has ideas that's going to move us forward and not back. And so for me, I do align more with the Democratic Party on those issues.
I think that there's a lot of division and hate and discrimination around this election. And I think that that's what people are concentrating on. So I think we need to shift our focus.
Republicans who have been a supermajority in the state legislature, they have rigged the laws for voting and access to the polls and access to registering to vote.
I think it's important to know what you're fighting for. In this case, for me, I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I want her to grow up in an America that is like I did or even better.
The main issues who are concerning them is the division right now in the country, that there's no common ground for them to stand. They just want the best for the future of the country, and they remain hopeful, even though the results that are coming out right now for Florida.
Thank you, Gabriella. While we await the projections, we'll be looking into the issues impacting the Latino and early votes here in Florida. So don't go anywhere yet as we dive into everything that matters to us here on Florida Decides.
When I came to this school, I didn't know that they had this TV production program. So I remember specifically the first show they did, and I was looking and I see this show and I'm like, wow, this show is professional. They have microphones, they have a green screen, they have a full script, and they're actually delivering the news like a real show.
We've done a few boot camps for competitions that we do. And in these boot camps, we're basically kind of thrown to the wolves for a little bit, and it helps. It really does help. Kind of going through that struggle helps you get better.
Last year, we went to the Student Television National Convention in California. So it was a great time to try to win, and the vibe with the team was really great.
I've gotten to do stuff that I never saw me doing. You're actually doing stuff. You're going out and you're filming. And I do believe that that's a great way to learn because you're getting hands-on experience.
Anyone that's interested in film or just wants to learn how to film, even if it's not something they're dedicated to, even if it's just a hobby, should definitely join because it is an experience and you will get something out of it.
Welcome back. We are now receiving the projections for the congressional races. Now, it is important that we let you know that these are just projections. They are not official results, and they'll change as the night goes on. But if we look into the Senate race here in Florida, we can see that Senator Scott is projected to win by 55.7% of the vote. Now let's turn to the representative races, where Florida has several key races that could determine the balance of power in the House. In District 24, Congresswoman Wilson is leading the polls with 68.2% of the vote and is projected to win. Also, we can see Congressman Diaz-Balart in District 26 is projected to win by 71% of the vote. In District 27, Congresswoman Salazar is projected to win with 60.5% of the vote. And finally, Congressman Jimenez is leading the projections with 64.6% in District 28. As we can see, certain districts are too close to call, and considering Florida's Latino voters are one of the state's largest groups, their impact tonight is especially important. Let's now turn to Roseby de Floran with more on how Latino voters can shape tonight's results.
In the United States, there's around 30 million Latinos that are eligible to vote, becoming a key factor for the 2024 election results. In Miami, Latinos are determined to exercise their vote with the hope of finding a greater innovation for the community. The Latino voters in Shenandoah have faced many issues, differing from economy to immigration.
The number one reason I came out to vote was basically the economy. Gas prices out of control, groceries out of control, the electric bills, car insurance, everything has skyrocketed.
The United States is in a lot of debt. Economic change, there could be a lot of benefit for anybody.
Latinos are not only concerned with socio-political issues, they also seek changes within the values of our community.
We move from the Trump era to another era that's going to bring America closer together. Because we work and we pay taxes. That's what motivated me.
I need to wake up and thinking about this. I'm going to vote to have my vote respect, and the one who win bring back the respect.
Latinos are making their choice, seeking more than a change. They're on a quest for progress. Reporting for Singtown News, Roseby Floran.
While we're keeping an eye on the projections of this historic election, more than 78 million people casted their votes early, meaning more than 78 million Americans have decided prior to Election Day the future of our nation. Here's a look at what's motivated them to vote early.
The early voting for the 2024 election is taking place. We can see early voters from both the Democratic and Republican Party trying to make a change with their votes.
Because this is the only way that you're a part of the process. If you don't make it out here, and you don't get your voice heard. And this is our way of being a part of the government.
I think, not having the right is absolutely awful. So the fact that we do, I think everyone should take advantage of it.
According to the most recent data from the Florida Division of Elections, Republicans have 956,443 more registered voters in Florida compared to Democrats. The Republican Party of Florida has continued to see steady growth overall for active registered voters since they took the lead from the Florida Democratic Party in 2021. A deeper look at the statistics for the Florida Democratic Party shows the number of registered voters has been dropping each year since 2021. Some voters decide to stand heavily with a specific party. Some of them decide to stay neutral and focus more on the issues than picking a side.
Certainly have voted for Republicans. I always want the best person.
But in this case, the Democrats have got the best people.
Well, I'm a Republican. I'm center-right, I'm more conservative.
Politically, things are very divided, so I hate the fact that things have become so controversial when just a few years they weren't.
I'm not one party or the other, so I mean, I think it's, it's all who you want to vote for.
With early votes being accounted for and the votes being casted today, let's take a look at the latest projections of the intense presidential race here in Florida. As you can see, former President Donald Trump is projected to win with 56.2%. But in this heated presidential election, we sent a team to go and ask what people here in Miami would do if they were elected president.
If I was president, I would try to, lower costs for everyday goods, groceries, gas, things like that. Because there's a bunch of working people all around the nation, and well, because of inflation, they have a big problem with, prices and all that. So I would try my best to, bring that back down, make sure everyone gets a fair shot at, society. I would also try to, limit like dirtiness around the streets, because you go to San Francisco, you go like up to Hialeah, you see all the dirty streets. I try to limit that as much as possible, so
If I was president, I would try to help the homeless by donating money to stop poverty.
If I were president, I would stop world hunger.
If I was president, I would ban homework.
If I was president, I would lower taxes.
Lo mejor para los hermanos, para las personas necesitadas. Si está a mi alcance, no las dejo morir por amor a Dios y a la Virgen Santísima. Haría lo mejor, que es lo que agrada a Dios. Y yo estoy dispuesta a agradar a Dios.
What I would do if I was a president, I would make abortions legal, and I would increase the minimum wage.
Yeah, I would increase employment, and I would help maintain the crimes at a low rate.
While the polls here in the East Coast have closed, it's time for the West Coast of the nation to decide who the next president of the United States will be. Thank you for joining us, and remember to follow our YouTube page and Instagram at Stinktown News Network. While this is all from us, tonight, the elections continue. Have a great night.